everybody. It is Friday. Hope you're going to have an amazing weekend. Let's get it started right with an episode of SMG Viewers Comments, episode number 194. Let's get right to it.
There is no money in playing in an original band anymore.
Well, with that kind of shit attitude, of course you're not going to make any money. Hey, newsflash, guess what? There was no money playing in an original band when I was a kid either. You know, it was only in very select few locations like Los Angeles or New York or something like that where there was a big enough crowd to draw where you could make money at it. If you're not based in one of those cities, yeah, fucking good luck. You just don't have the population density to make something like that happen. Fortunately, there are other methods to making money with original music other than the traditional method of going out gigging and building a following, you know, by getting people to come out to your shows and that kind of thing. And that is social media and YouTube. And I'm not talking about, you know, like inviting people via Facebook or something like that, because nobody pays attention to that shit. What you got to do is make an interesting video, make a funny video, make something to get people's attention and get them interested in your music that way. There's all kinds of wonderful high quality tools to make high quality content. All you got to do is show a little originality. Now get out there and go make something amazing.
Hey Glenn, I have transitioned from modeling amps to real tube amps and was wondering if you know any good tutorials on how to dial in good tones, aka what to listen for.
Hey Robin, fantastic question. Now I did a video about 4 years ago in my How to Record Heavy Guitar series, and episode 2 was about dialing in your amp, and I've often been wondering if I should maybe update that. I want to put this question to you guys. Do you want to see an updated version about dialing in your amp, especially because now I've got, you know, 4 more years experience on hand, and I want to see just how much my method has changed. Would you guys be interested in something like that? Because I don't want to waste my time making a video that nobody's going to watch, but if you feel you can get something useful, I'll be more than happy to make it for you. That being said, go check out that original video, and I do have a very special project coming up sometime later this year. I think you're going to be interested in. That's all I'm going to say at this point. Anyway, stay tuned.
Hey Glenn, I really need help explaining to a guitarist in my band that he needs to learn his music theory. He insists that he plays on feel and that music theory is a waste of time. What can I do to convince him? Also, fuck you, Glenn.
Well, you know, some people you just can't convince anything. I mean, you give them the best advice in the world. It doesn't mean they're going to listen. You know, I was having this discussion the other night about recording metal guitars, and this one guy was insisting, oh, well, you know, I got my APIs and those sound amazing. I'm like, dude, seriously, try the cheap mixer trick. You'd be shocked. Well, oh, no, I'm really happy with what I got. Some people, you know, you can tell them great information and they're still going to ignore it, and they have to learn that on their own. You know, there's been a lot of great rock musicians out there with not a lot of theory knowledge, though. So your friend may have a point. But in my opinion, a little knowledge can't hurt. A lot of knowledge is even a better idea. Like I said, check out my video I did there last week on the fret zealot. I thought that was a magnificent thing. If there's anything I learned, it's that I need to spend more time on my chords and my scales, because wow, do I ever not know a lot about guitar.
Glenn, what's your opinion on bands buying likes, follows, listens, etc. for their social media? Has music become a game of who has the most money? Is this a good thing? What's your opinion?
Hey Blake, that's a magnificent question. Here's the thing. It always has been a case of who has the most money. I mean, that's why labels existed, so they could put ad campaigns behind records. It wasn't just the fact that the record was good. It was, you know, a whole marketing department behind that band. And all that's being done now is it's just shifting a little bit into different forms like YouTube and other social media platforms. Look, the game hasn't really changed, just merely the rules. If you want to debate the ethics on that, that's absolutely fine. But, you know, the reality of the situation is what it is. It's not to say it's a bad thing or a good thing. It can go both ways. I mean, like, you look at Jared Threatin, who bought all these likes and views on YouTube and that kind of thing, basically built his whole marketing campaign on a house of cards, and the whole thing came crumbling down when he went and toured Europe and nobody came out to the shows, and everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, he's got this massive social media following. Well, actually, no, he doesn't. I'm not sure what system he used, but it can also be used by the major players. I know, you know, there's companies that use social media, buy likes and views, all that time to get things going, and that does generate some real legit interest as well. It all really depends on the content you're offering.
DBX 2600, Behringer 266. Those are cheap hardware compressors I want to know more about.
Oh, you know what? The Behringer 266 might be worth taking a look at. In the meantime, I can tell you this, and I really should do a demo on this at some point. I've got a pair of DBX 160 XTs back there. You can't really control the attack and release on them, I don't think. Nope, it's just basically a threshold ratio and then an over easy button. But they're pretty badass compressors. Warren Hewitt was the one who turned me on to those. And, they're really good on kick drums. And I still got to try them on rooms and whatnot. But they're a gentle compressor. They do sound really, really good. You got to get the 160 XTs for some strange reason. They've just got the right circuit. According to Warren, they sound very similar to the compressors you will find in an SSL channel. But again, you don't have tweakable release times. So your mileage may vary as always. Definitely worth checking out. But I'll look into that Behringer compressor because that sounds like it might be kind of cool, worth checking out.
Man, the hate is unreal. I've been using Bias Effects 1 for a few years, and I love the tones the Platinum producers loved. Sometimes you have to take your time and work harder for pro-sounding tones. This is coming from a guy who has about a dozen modern and vintage amps, a camper positive grid, and guitar rig. Glenn wouldn't put something on his channel he doesn't endorse, and I think it may be time for an upgrade.
I don't quite get all the hate either. I thought there was some really cool stuff about Bias Effects 2. I said I really like that Pink Floyd setup. I thought it was pretty sick. And the original Bias Effects, I really liked their plexi simulation. I thought the new one was even better. The pedal simulations in that are just absolutely outstanding as well. If you want to, even use a different amp sim and put the pedals in front and behind, that would be a completely viable solution as well. So never say never. I'm thinking about maybe doing another amp sim shootout sometime down the road because people do tend to listen with their eyes. I remember I got a lot of hate for doing the one on the Waves PRS Archon. A lot of guys were like, oh, you fucking Waves, blah, blah, blah. And then we did a shootout, and the Archon was the one that won the shootout. This going up against some of the neural DSPs and other sims. Once you guys have to listen with your ears rather than your eyes, the results were rather shocking. So I think I am going to do that at some point. So stay tuned for that. We'll probably put the neural stuff up against the bias stuff and the wave stuff with a blind test, and you guys can make your judgments based on what you hear. I think that's going to be a really cool test.
How bad do credit companies hate it when you pay off your credit cards immediately? They keep raising your credit limit in hopes that you'll spend more and eventually carry a balance.
Daniel, you've got a great point. And I say this to all the musicians out there. If you're going to buy stuff on credit, make sure you can pay it off immediately. I understand credit cards can definitely facilitate online purchasing. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you stay on top of it, because if you're paying 18 to 21% interest when prime's at like 6, that's just fucking robbery. A bunch of you guys last week said something about, I mentioned the credit card thing, and a bunch of you guys said like ZZ Sounds does 0% financing for like 2 years or something like that. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I'm going to do a little investigation on this and make some recommendations based on my findings, and we're going to see who's got the best credit options out there for musicians who want to buy gear and want to work on installment plans, but not wind up in the poorhouse, and just see what's going to work best for you guys. So I'm going to go hit up a bunch of different sources, and I'm going to compile a list, and hopefully we can come up with some kind of definitive buying guide for buying online for the working musician. I think that'll be really fucking cool.
I picked up a guitar for the first time with Rocksmith 1 in 2013 and played it religiously. Now I'm not just a guitarist, I teach music lessons, I make charts for the game, and I'm a successful Twitch guitar streamer. People used to say Guitar Hero won't make you a musician, but it turns out those rhythmic hand-eye coordination synapses are perfect for getting really good really fast with Rocksmith.
Dude, that is fucking amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Congratulations on being successful at what you do. I think that's fucking awesome. That just goes to show, there's no one path to success. I mean, like, the traditional method will work with hard work and diligence, but, if Rocksmith works for you, then Rocksmith works for you. Go out there and fucking do it. It's the same thing, with the fret cell. It's the same idea. It's kind of like, oh, you know what? This makes sense to me. I can work with this. This lays it out for me. Whatever's going to teach you the quickest and most efficient way, I say fucking do it. So once again, good for you, dude.
Hey, Glenn, what would be a good affordable amp for gigging as a bassist?
You know what? I'm not really sure. I've seen a lot of bass players in my local area use a lot of the Mark bass stuff. Usually you can find some decent prices on that. The David Eden stuff I don't think is too expensive and is really killer sounding. If you can find yourself maybe a used David Eden head and a cab, go for it. You might want to take a look at the Trace Elliott stuff. I was checking out some of their classic Class D amps at Summer NAMM last year, and it looked pretty fucking badass. I hope to get something on the show sometime this year to demo, because I think it'd be really fucking cool to check out. I really like the Trace Elliott stuff. And if you've got the cash, by all means, save up for the Dark Glass Microtubes 900 and matching cabinet, because that rig is a fucking beast. I love using it on the show every single chance I get. I can't say enough good things about it. That one you're gonna have to save your pennies for, or use my online buying guide whenever that comes out for buying music gear on credit, because it's definitely worth it.
I have a question. I have a Line 6 Spider 5 4x12. Can I hook it up to my Bruce at 6260? The cab is 4 ohms mono and 8 ohms stereo amp, has impedance selector, just don't want to blow the amp.
All right, I looked up those two pieces of gear. You're in luck. The 6260 is selectable from 16, 8, and 4 ohms. So you want to move that slider on the back to 4 ohms and make sure you plug that in one cable to your mono input, probably usually the left, and that'll be a 4 ohm input. Now, if you were to set that amp to 16 ohms or 8 ohms and put that into a 4 ohm input, you would run into problems. You can always go the other way around. So you can set the amp to 4 ohms and go into an 8 or 16 ohm load, and that's fine. But if you don't have enough impedance, you can blow your amp. I don't know. I did that with my Gallion Kruger back in the 90s, and boy, was I ever fucking pissed. That's what happens when you let your friends borrow your gear. They fucking change shit on you and don't tell you, and then you fire your amp up and it doesn't fucking work. Always do your homework when it comes to impedance. Now, if I got that wrong, let me know in the comments. But as far as I know, that's the way how to do it. Good luck.
Hey Glenn, you've commented on YouTube starting to put an end to the loudness war by turning mixes down. But what are your thoughts on digital streaming services using lower bit rates affecting quality needed for mixing? I may just be an audiophile, but the higher bit rates seem to have a better soundstage dynamics and clarity, which is a plus when listening to metal, death metal especially. Though in reality, songwriting musicianship usually trumps production value, and slight imperfections adds character what is lacking these days. And lastly, fuck you, Glenn.
Yes, first and foremost, yes, I'm glad the volume war is ending, and I'm still really overdue for doing that video and explaining why making your mix the loudest thing on earth probably isn't the smartest thing to do, especially for metal. You're just going to wind up making stuff that sound like ass. That being said, when I got my van, it came with a year's subscription to Sirius satellite radio, and I was really excited to get it until I listened to it. And the metal and hard rock channels were in fucking mono. I mean, they didn't even broadcast in stereo. The quality was fucking garbage. So when my year was up, oh, hey, renew your subscription. I'm like, fuck you. I'll just fucking put an MP3 player in and or an MP3 stick and just listen to MP3s. At least those are going to be vastly superior quality to the dog shit that Sirius XM is broadcasting, because honestly, that just sounds like terrible. I haven't come across anything that sounds that bad since. I mean, I've got a subscription to Amazon Prime, and that sounds pretty good. I don't have a Spotify account, so I can't comment on that one way or another. A buddy of mine does have an account. I've listened to it, and I thought it sounded all right. But you tell me, does it sound bad or not? As far as I'm concerned, yeah, the higher bit rates are always a good idea. And if a streaming service wants you to pay, they'd better be offering premium bit rates to go with those premium prices.
Hi Glenn, I was wondering, let's imagine you get a decent bass player stepping into your studio. Would you, as an engineer, prefer him to play an active or a passive bass? And why? Personally believe active bass when playing, but in the studio, what do you think works best? Oh, and what do you think could be a bass rig that you would mic up instead of using a Zamp or a B7K? Fuck you from France.
I don't have a preference to active or passive pickups. I'd be more concerned with noise rejection. So if I'm working in a studio with maybe some outside radio interference or something like that, I'd want to work with pickups that don't pick that shit up. That would be my first concern. Active, passive, I really don't give a fuck. The big question is, can the bass player play, and can he play well? Because that's going to make or break the record. That's the most important thing about bass guitar. Fuck the pickups. Let's get a player in there who can really kick ass. I always get that a lot. What do you prefer, active or passive? Just whatever fucking sounds good. Just do that. That's my advice. And my preferred rig is the Dark Glass Microtubes 900. Ooh, it is just fucking incredible on all levels. It's got a couple of different preamp stages. It's 900 watts of Class D power, and it really moves the bottom end. The matching cabinet is a fucking beast. I've been getting great results. This into the cabinet, miking up with a Roswell Colaris into the Empirical Labs Distressor. Ooh, it just sounds so good. Highly, highly, highly recommended.
Hey Glenn, would you take the same approach when mixing programmed drums? Love that you're digging Cubase, by the way.
Of course, you're talking about my mixing metal drums with stock plugins. It depends on your sample set, what you're using. I mean, like a lot of drum sample programs are already kind of quote unquote pre-mixed. Like Easy Drummer is designed to just get you a good mix by throwing up the faders. So needs minimal dicking around. So if you're adding a whole bunch of EQ and compression and shit to your Easy Drummer tracks, stop that shit and just start playing with the faders. Superior Drummer is more designed more to be mixed. So yes, if you're using Superior or something like that, or a drum kit from hell or BFD or something like that, that's a little quote unquote unmixed, yes, you could use the methods that I'm showing in there. So thanks for the question, man. I thought that was pretty good.
Hi, Glenn. I have a question. I have my bass strung with flat wound strings, and as far as the research of older flat wound strings are, the better they sound. I'm no heavy rock player. My band plays funk. The question is, in my situation, still better to change the strings before recording in the studio. We'll be starting to record some tracks, and I've never recorded in the studio before.
Hey, Mitch, phenomenal question. If you're playing funk, sometimes the older, deader strings are the way to go. It really depends on how bright you want. I mean, like, if you want, like old school Funk Brothers kind of sound, leave the old flat, grimy strings on there. Absolutely. Maybe clean them up a little bit, but you should be fine. If you're going for, maybe a little bit more Sly and the Family Stone, something like that, you're going to want to, crank up that treble a little bit. You're going to want newer strings. My suggestion would be maybe bring a new set of strings into the studio with you to have them on hand just in case you need them. Better safe than sorry. But if you're playing flats, chances are you're not going for that super bright, snappy sound anyway. I mean, like I'm always screaming about it to metal players because we want to be able to hear the bass guitar in the mix. And if you're using old, dead, and dull strings, you're just not going to hear that. So that's why new strings are so fucking important for metal. Funk, maybe not so much. Hope it works out for you, dude.
Hi, Glenn. I don't know if it's a stupid question or not to what make, for example, an EQ a good EQ. I mean, all EQ have the same settings panel and do the same thing, boost this, reduce frequency. How can you tell this EQ better from another? Cheers from France. Va faire foutre. Glenn.
I have a sneaky suspicion that was en français for fuck you, Glenn. And as they say in Montreal, tabernacle. Anyway. Okay, that's a phenomenal question. Here's a quote from my very good friend, Anthony Kazoob, who was one of the product developer guys and just all around awesome dudes at Wardbeck Systems. He's now working for the CBC. And here's his quote, and I'll take this as an expert's opinion. Plugins are just graphics-based database manipulators. People can't seem to get past their aesthetics sometimes. So for us non-boffins out there, what that means is people listen with their eyes. What I look for in an EQ is just basically something that's going to get shit done quickly. Interface is what a plug-in EQ is best at. Are there character EQs? Maybe, maybe the one built into, say, the one in the Harrison Mix Bus console, Mix 32, whatever the hell it is. It's fucking amazing. It's the one that you find on the actual consoles. It's pretty much a digital recreation of that, so it's not quite clean. But most plugins, I'm going to imagine, are fairly clean. Maybe the Waves SSL stuff has a little bit of juice to it. Same with the API stuff. But for the most part, most digital EQs are going to sound pretty much exactly the same. It all depends on once you start getting up into, the 40 kilohertz region around Nyquist, how it treats those extreme top frequencies. That's going to make any kind of difference at all, even if it's noticeable. So my suggestion would be just find an EQ that you like the interface on, that's easy to work with and gets you where you want to go the quickest. And thank you very much to Anthony Kazoob. You fucking rule, dude.
Slate has a new thing where you can pay like $15 a month and get all their plugins. Curious what your thoughts were on this, especially for people who mostly relying on freeware currently.
Well, I think it's phenomenal. I mean, like $15 a month is definitely an affordable solution. It's certainly not greedy. I mean, I work with the Adobe suite, and that's like $75 a month for what I need it to do. And believe me, I'm ditching Adobe because better tools have made themselves available for a whole lot cheaper. $15 a month for all the Slate plugins is damn affordable. And so, yeah, if you think that's a good deal, fucking go for it, because some of the Slate stuff is really fucking amazing. I love the FG Stress. I love some of their EQs, some of their compressors. Yeah, it's just killer stuff. You really can't go wrong. That being said, they might not be that much different from a lot of freeware EQs out there. So there is that.
Hey Glenn, what are your thoughts on using EQ on your studio monitors to adjust for the room? I'm sure acoustic treatment is preferable, but I've always wondered if it's useful or would you only confuse because the speaker is no longer flat?
Alex, that's a perfectly legit question. It's something that comes up quite a bit. The problem is EQing, you're not going to be able to hear your room neutrally enough to be able to make accurate EQ adjustments. So my suggestion would be to invest in a system like SonarWorks, which is going to take proper measurements of your room with sine waves, and there's a test microphone you move throughout your mix position, and it will flatten your room out with a custom EQ curve, which you can even dial in, which I think is pretty fucking cool. It's definitely worth taking a look at. I've experimented around with it for a little bit here in the control room, and it's made some pretty interesting adjustments. I am going to have a full demo on it at some point. Just bear with me while I get through about 10,000 other demos.
My favorite comedian, Frankie Boyle, said it best. If you get offended by any jokes, feel free to tweet your outrage on a mobile phone made by a 10-year-old in China. Check his stuff out.
I think I will. That is fucking brilliant. That's just fucking great. I got to remember that one. Very cool. Last but not least, we've got a video comment from Iceland. Check this out.
Hey Glenn, this is not a question, but I just want to tell you that I finally found some use for my Line 6 spider. Will you look at that? Cheers from Iceland.
Nicely done, dude. They're way more fun with some tannerite, but yeah, I'm glad you found a use for it there. I don't know, you're in Iceland, man. Go chuck it in a fucking volcano or something. Oh, and by the way, take the fucking gum out of your mouth when you go on camera. All right, that's it for this episode. Hope you're gonna have an amazing weekend. Get out there, make some fucking amazing music, guys. Anyway, you got any more comments, questions, leave them below, or send me a video question or comment, because those are an awful lot of fun. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you later, and I am fucking out of here. Hey guys, if you like the video, be sure to subscribe as I post every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. If you want to learn more about recording, check out one of my tutorials or one of my gear reviews if you want the actual honest truth about a piece of equipment. Till next time, stay metal, my friends.